What's next doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by chance. What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth. What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials. Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your fields, because Pioneer isn't just our name, it's our mission. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
This RealAg Radio podcast is brought to you by Economics. Everyone has questions about their farm. From general inquiries to in-depth fertilizer questions, find straightforward answers at nutrien-economics.com.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host on this Thursday edition of the show. How is it Thursday already? Oh my goodness. Thanks so much for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. It is great to be here with you because it's Thursday, which means Farmer Rapid Fire. That's right. We travel across the country and we find out how farmers are making out in their pasture, their barns, their fields, their tractor, whatever they're up to. We want to hear what's happening on the farm on this midway point already in October. It is hard to believe. Now, it is the Farmer Rapid Fire, which is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. For more than 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges. With new Optimum Glide canola, Enlist E3 soybeans, to performing corn products and industry-leading traits, they've got technologies to maximize your yield potential. Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. That's the key part, for your fields. You can find out more by visiting pioneer.com/Canada. Right now. Do it on your mobile phone, right? Pioneer.com/Canada. Okay, today's lineup, today's list is, these are wily veterans of this show. We got Peter Gredig coming out of St. Thomas, Ontario. Mark Brock is in Staffa, Ontario. Devon Walker is in Lashburn, Saskatchewan. And Korey Peters is in Randolph, Manitoba. If you have any feedback, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. We're going to ask all the farmers what they think is going to happen with land prices in the back half of 2023. We're also going to hear today from Mike Weir, Pioneer agronomist from southern Manitoba. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Get the Farmer Rapid Fire started right after this.
Proven Seed is at home in your soil. With the widest seed portfolio in Western Canada, our seed is developed and tested on and for your local acres. Our hybrids and varieties are tested by hundreds of growers, so we know how our seed will perform in your local conditions. Better returns start with seed that belongs where it's planted, and this seed belongs here. Secure your seed today at your local Nutrien Ag Solutions, or visit provenseed.ca to learn more.
It's now time for a product spotlight, and today we're talking to Vantage Ag, and we're joined right now by the president of Vantage Ag. It is Paul Sinkovich. So what makes your new liquid fertilizers so unique for both Canada and the U.S.?
When our liquid fertilizers are reacted, we add a process that makes the particle size of that nutrient 1/3 to 2/3 of a nanometer. These tiny, tiny particles are only 30 to 40 times bigger than an atom. What we find when these nutrients are sprayed on a plant, any plant, these tiny bioavailable particles are quickly absorbed by the plant and within a couple of days are throughout the entire plant and being metabolized and used by the plant. Crop safety is impeccable, and with this new technology, we can now feed plants what they need through foliar feeding more than we ever thought possible.
We've been talking to Paul Sinkovich. He is president of Vantage Ag, and the product is Reacted Quantum Ag Technology. Paul, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Shaun.
And we start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada in St. Thomas, Ontario. And it's Peter Gredig. Pete, how's it going?
Shaun, I'm good. How are you doing? You've recovered from the Blue Jays situation?
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was even going to ask you about it. You brought it up. Honestly, the AL East didn't fare very well at all, right? Tampa gone, Baltimore easily. The AL East did not win a game in the playoffs.
It's one of those things where, it was fun to follow along and, it's frustrating at times, but it's such a long season, but boy, it can be over in a hurry. And then I feel like we kind of maybe need a little time to decompress and then figure it out for next year. But yeah, it was a fun ride. It was just a short one at the end.
Yeah. Once again, we're seeing in this year's baseball playoffs, you got to be hot. You gotta come. Those bats have got to be hot. You need your pitching. Pitching can stay sharp. It's the hitting where look at Baltimore. They got some time off. They weren't in the wild card series, and you could argue that it hurt them.
They got a little rusty.
Yeah.
Well, my pet peeve is it's all in the playoffs. It's quite often mistakes that you would never see in June, July, August. Fundamentals and base running. Oh my God. Don't get me started.
I said on this show, I believe the Vladdy pickoff at second was way more detrimental to the Blue Jays' chances than any pitching change that was made. I think everyone's been distracted by the pitching change. I think it's what the heck Vladdy was doing at second is that was a bigger piece of the game than the pitching change.
Yeah, well, I think the lesson is that if you're going to be an elite baseball player, you can't take 10 seconds off. I mean, you have to be focused and aware of the situation. And I give that shortstop as a Korey. He had a couple of plays that just shut down Toronto Stars, and watch and learn is what I would say.
Yeah, well, we could apply some of those pay attention all the time things to farming as well, or anything that we're doing in life is don't get complacent. Complacency is a bad thing to let creep into your life, indeed, just like Vladdy was very complacent at second base. Okay, you're into those soybeans. How are they looking?
You know what? We've had a really good run with the weather. It's turned a little bit here lately, but it was a very strange year, right? Like super dry through planting, and then really didn't stop raining. Not a ton of heat. So, it's a tale of two crops. The beans ripened up on time. We were able to get at them with harvest, no quality issues, and I would say surprisingly good yields. The mystery in the yields is why did they perform well in one field versus another? It didn't have anything to do with how they looked. Some really good looking beans didn't yield as good as some beans that looked a little bit tough. So we're happy with the result, but we're scratching our head a little bit on sort of what was going on behind the scenes there physiologically, pod set, et cetera. So be interesting to kind of hear the discussions through the winter, because I think I'm hearing that kind of in our area that, some really good surprises and some disappointments, and it was tough to assess or predict in advance how things were going to turn out.
So are you disappointed with your yield then?
Not at all. I mean, a lot of beans were shorter than we would normally see them. In a lot of fields, you could see every tile run because we had so much moisture. That between the tile runs, the roots just didn't get that comfort zone, air, aeration, oxygen, et cetera. So, you'd be zooming along with the combine and have that sort of, wave effect where you're over the tile run. It was exceptional between the tile runs, maybe a little less. But at the end of the day, when you got your average for the field, average or better, which I think in this season was probably the best we could hope for. So, no, we're happy with the way the beans turned out.
Okay, what's your expectations in that St. Thomas, London area for the corn?
Well, I think there's a really good corn crop sitting out there, but as I said, it's sort of a tale of two crops. The corn went in good time, and normally we would be kind of sitting here now saying, well, it's black layered and now it's just dried down, but we've got a little ways to go yet. I think a frost could be maybe a little bit hurtful still even at this date. So I don't see any real hard frost in the forecast, but if we could go another 10 days without a significant frost, I think it would help. It's race to the finish line, but I think the volume, I think the yield is going to be pretty good. It's just, is it going to fully mature and get that test weight, or will it be a little bit light? We'll see.
We've been, Wednesday on this show, we talked to Brian Voth of IntelliFarm. He was pretty negative on the overall commodity complex. Have you been pretty aggressive in your marketing of the 23 crop?
It's always the same, Shaun. I always sell a lot in advance. I don't have a ton of storage, so I'm happy to sell in advance. Should have sold more. Yeah. Why didn't you tell me? But in 2021, it was the opposite. If people that sold early were like, oh man, crap, this harvest rally is really, really hurting my bottom line. But in this year, it appears the early sellers are the winners, at least at this point anyway. Yeah, it's a funny thing. Like in the neighborhood, you'll see the on-farm storage is a huge win, but sometimes it affects your management, right? So you load up the bins because you have bins. And then if the market's going in the wrong direction, you end up in that hold and hope mode. So, in advance of the combines rolling into bins, you just saw a lot of bins getting emptied, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. So the lesson in that is that sometimes because you have bins doesn't mean you have to use them. But we'll see what happens with it. It's just, we're trying to look at what the fundamentals are supply-wise, but then you're also kind of distracted by geopolitics and the world's a crazy place right now. So I guess anything could happen.
Crazy place is an understatement. Okay, Pete, I got to ask you a question. I know you get out your crystal ball here. So this week on RealAgriculture.com in our poll, we're asking everybody, land values increased 7.7% in the first half of 2023, according to Farm Credit Canada. What happens in the back half? Do you think the values they're going to go up more than 7.7, the same, or are we going to see less of a land value increase in the back half of 23?
No, is this Canada-wide?
Canada-wide.
Canada-wide. Okay. Well, I'd be not fully informed on other parts of the country and what's going on, but I guess from my own perspective here and what we've just seen with some recent sales, I'm thinking we're probably going to plateau here for a bit, just stabilize. So I would say probably kind of hover at the level we're at right now for the second half.
The same as.
Same as. Yeah.
What do you think is it the where interest rates are, sort of those cash buys we've run out of the cash? Because that's what people were saying, is that the market was still strong. Interest rates weren't impacting the land market because people were, putting cash on the sidelines to use. What do you think is creating that pause, so to speak?
Well, I mean, no trend goes in the same direction forever. I mean, it just doesn't, it's not sustainable. But I think some of the run up through the pandemic and in any kind of real estate for that matter, there was a pretty strong push upwards. And I just think now there might be just a little bit sober second thought in terms of, what is the long-term carrying costs on that debt if you're borrowing to buy it? Are you fixing or floating on your interest rates? And, if you borrow $1 million and you're paying $30,000 a year versus paying $65,000 a year to have the opportunity to have $1 million, it's a big difference. So it's a number of factors, and farming's been profitable the last few years, but I think there's a little bit of caution just coming into play.
Appreciate the insight and your perspective, Pete. Hey, all the best to you on getting those soybeans and corn finished, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Awesome. Good to hear from you, Shaun. Thanks.
Okay, let's take a break. We've got more of the Farmer Rapid Fire coming up here, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
What's next for your fields? At Pioneer, delivering industry-leading genetics drives everything we do. From the scientists in the lab to our local teams with boots on the ground, we are determined to get there first. developing top-performing products, proven in more growing conditions than ever before. Pioneer. What's next happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more.
You know, there's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup, weed control, field trial results, yield strategies, and so much more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF, Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest podcast today.
Your co-op grow team are your local experts because we live here too. Our agronomic specialists stay up to date with the latest research and technology to help support your entire farm operation. Talk to our team for advice tailored to your farm's needs. We have recommendations to help you optimize your crop yield and quality while enhancing the health of your land. Co-op, we're all growing together. Here for your farm, here for your family. Learn more at coop.crs/farm.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, up the road to Staffa, Ontario. We're talking to Mark Brock. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Good, Sean. How are you?
Pretty good. This wet weather is creating some kind of pain in the butt harvest conditions.
Yeah, we've had 4 inches of rain here since last Thursday. So we went through a pretty dry spell through September and had some nice weather for about a week and got a lot of soybeans off when we planted, but we're kind of at a standstill here now.
Yeah, okay, and are you happy with your soybeans?
Yeah, you know, we didn't get hit with some of those heavy rains south of us here in Ontario back in kind of July, early August. So our soybean yields are, I would say, above average. So we're pretty happy about what we've gotten so far and kind of cautiously optimistic about the corn.
Okay, yeah, the old cautious. So, okay, why cautious? Are you just trying not to get too far ahead of yourself on the corn yield, or what? Are you worried about gibberella, or like what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit worried about quality. We've seen some a little bit of ear mold out there, some western bean cutworm damage, but we also just had kind of like cooler, overcast weather kind of through September. So, you know, there was some concern just about how much test weight we're going to pack onto the corn, and that really directly equals yield. So, you know, rumors I hear kind of south of us are into some early corn. Yields are really good, so we're just kind of hoping that transpires as we go north.
Yeah, but, you know, to be fair, though, to you, like, the last 6 weeks here on the show, every farmer I talk to about what they're thinking about their corn yield, they're all saying the same thing. Like, the components are there for a really good year and a really good yield, but I'm a little bit like just cautious. I think that's the best way to put it, not to get too far out ahead of yourself. It's the conservative sort of way, right?
Yeah, you know, it's just, I think the way we kind of operate here on our farm is just we don't tend to overestimate too much because you never know what's going to happen. So
yeah,
it looks good. Don't get me wrong. I think it will be good, but you know, I think there was a huge potential there. Just we didn't quite get the good weather through August, September that we needed. So the last part of September was awesome. We got the heat that we needed to kind of get it to black layer and mature, but I do think we missed out on a little bit just because we didn't have enough sunshine when we needed it.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you get all your wheat in?
Yeah, we did. You know, actually some of the best winter wheat planting conditions we had in a long time. It actually got to a point where it was almost too dry, and we were planting kind of in dust, but we saw the forecast coming, so we kind of knew we were going to get rain, so we kind of set it into about an inch deep, and it's got more than enough to get it to go. So, okay,
acres about the same.
Yeah, a little bit more. It's tough. Wheat isn't really a huge moneymaker when you compare it to corn, soybeans, but it's really good for rotation, especially for us on our farm for getting some of that fall or late summer manure put out on the wheat stubble and cover crop stuff. So it helps us in a rotation and make the other crops more profitable. But wheat on its own isn't the big money maker.
Yeah. The money maker's still the old standby corn?
Yeah, corn, soybeans really for us. As I said, wheat's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's an important part of our crop rotation, but I know a lot of guys kind of pulled back on acres this year just because when you start looking at pricing and return on kind of on a per acre basis, wheat is just quite a bit lower than corn or soybeans.
Do you still have canola in the rotation?
Yeah, we had some that we harvested here back, some winter canola back in July, but we didn't plant any this fall, actually. I'm pretty selective on what fields we put it on because they have to be really well drained. So we didn't really plant any this fall, but it still kind of floats into my rotation every other year.
And have you been happy with the yields? Like, is it a crop that potentially has a future, provided you got the right land for it in any given year?
Yeah. To be honest, that's why you need winter wheat, because we always put it in after winter wheat because we can get it planted kind of last part of August, first part of September, and it's actually every time I've grown it, it's been the most profitable crop I grow that year. So we're getting yields kind of in the 75 to 85 bushel range.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, so for us, it spreads out workload. It's not a lot of work, and it makes some pretty good money. So we do like growing it, but we're kind of picky. It's kind of picky where we put it.
Well, and then hey, when you're picky about where you put it, it helps. You talked about some of the yields and what you've seen. That those things are probably a little bit connected as well. Hey, this week we're asking. We got a poll up at RealAgriculture.com, so we're asking farmers the poll question. Land values across the country up 7.7% in the first half of 23, according to Farm Credit Canada. What do you think is going to happen in the back half? Around 7.7 again? Do you think the number will be lower, or do you think we could actually see a higher number?
Oh, I think it's going to be lower. I don't know. I think this whole interest rate equation's really starting to hit home with some farm operations, and that I honestly think I'm seeing farmland in our area actually start to go to real estate, which typically in the last few years hasn't. It's been like word of mouth, or it's usually sold before you even find out it's for sale. So when I'm starting to see land kind of hit real estate, it makes me think that buying has softened a little bit. So I don't know if we're going to see the increase in the price per acre that we've seen kind of historically. And I don't think it's going to go down. I just think the land's going to maybe sit on the market a little longer. So I can't see it going up hopefully too much more in price, or I don't know what the solution is going to be.
Yeah, it's and obviously different areas of the country see different kinds of appreciation or have, but overall you can understand why people have been aggressive in buying it, because it has been a pretty it's been a pretty stable place to put your money from an investment standpoint.
Yeah, especially in a low interest rate environment, it's been a really good place to put money. But, as you start looking at these interest rates creeping up to 6-7%, and you can get money out somewhere else at 5 or 6, then, when you look at a land rent return on land that's trading in our area for $43,000 an acre, it's getting a little harder to justify that price per acre. So.
Yeah. Did you say 43?
Yeah, 43,000 an acre.
Wow. Okay, so
yeah,
Well, and I know what half the maybe more than half the audience is saying. That don't pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well. Okay. You're taking the under. Okay. So far we've talked to two farmers and both have taken the under. So just you're in good company there, indeed. Well, hey Mark, thanks so much for joining us here this week. Really appreciate it. Good luck, and I hope that corn comes in above those conservative expectations that you have.
No, thanks very much, Shaun. Appreciate the opportunity to chat.
And we take up next the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're going to stop in Manitoba, and we're in Randolph, Manitoba, and we're talking to Korey Peters. Korey, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, fill me in. How has 2023 treated you?
You know what? It's been pretty good. And it's definitely patchy in Manitoba. And I know that's probably a cliche thing to say, but talking to other farmers, there's 20 miles away, it can vary quite a bit. And so even for us, we've had some really good fields of various crops, and then some others where it really struggled. We're getting close to the end. We're done all our cereals and canola. We should finish our last field of soybeans today, and we did get a little start in sunflowers and corn. So really it's just sunflowers and corn that's left. So if we finish around Halloween, we're always pretty happy.
That's kind of your sort of line. Sort of how do you decide if this has gone later? That's good. You got to get the kids out there trick or treating.
Exactly. I got their costumes. I just got to work on mine yet. So.
Do you guys do it up for Halloween? Do you really decorate the outside of the house?
You know what? We decorate more like just for fall. Like we have a big pumpkin patch that the kids like to help with, and throw some straw bales on the front step and a couple things of corn and stuff, kind of that look. But no, we don't go full out with the skeletons and stuff. But I know a few people that do, and we always make sure to stop at their house with the kids because they love it.
Yeah, there's probably a correlation between how much decorating the outside and how good the treat bag is on the trick or treating. There's probably some science to that at some point. And, I just kind of wish that fall was a longer season. It's my favorite season of the year, I think, and it just feels like it's always so short.
I agree. I love it for many reasons. Yes, because, that's harvest. And then also there's lots of sports on at that point. So it's always just a great time of the year. I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's football on TV too. There's that as well. How are you making out with some of your marketing? Do you got that kind of part all figured out here on this 23 crop?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Like many, we kind of wish maybe we had sold canola a little earlier. We had sold some, and a good problem to have. We needed a little bin space, but when the prices are still, they may have come down, but they're still pretty good compared to a few years ago. In the end, I can say to myself, and I tell myself over and over, I'm making money. It's okay to sell right now if you're out of a little bit bin space and you need some cash flow. So it's we're doing okay. Yeah.
Been hard to kind of figure it out though, right? Like it's sort of a lot of sideways trade and slipping lower, and you're just trying to make the best decision you possibly can and not get paralyzed by some of the hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like many, we do our best, and we use a company to help us a little bit, but it's never perfect, but we also know that we need cash flow at different points of the year. So we do what works best for our farm. Yeah,
for sure. I appreciate the insight there. Machinery all run good here this growing season?
Yeah, things have run pretty good. It's not like we've had crazy breakdowns. A few years ago, everything gets compared to, we had 3 tractor engines blow in the same spring.
Seriously?
For 3 various reasons, 3 completely different tractors. Yeah, so everything from now on will always get compared to the spring of 2021. And so we're doing good compared to that.
Yeah, there's bad luck. Then there's like horrific luck, and then there's what exactly is going on here?
It was, it was just horrible luck. Yeah. And they were all various reasons they broke, like different parts of the engine broke. One piece of a piston went flying through one, another one was just a block. And, and then when the third one went, we were literally just reseeding a little canola. And my brother called, he goes, guys, you won't believe it, but I think the engine's gone. And he was a half a mile away from our home. Like he had just left. And we just laughed. We were like, nah, you're joking. He's like, no, I'm serious. and that was the end of spring.
That's kind of like what happens in a pitching rotation where like you got 3 pitchers going down with Tommy John surgery in like a 1-week basis or something like that. It's just like, what exactly is in the water around here?
It's too hard water. That's the problem. Just straight well water. It's just got to it, I guess.
How's your fall moisture conditions?
Not bad. We just kind of got back to harvest now. We had about a 5-6 day break where we had like a slow rain, about 1.5 inches. It varied a little bit, but around there, which was nice. I mean, I can't complain too much because, we could use the moisture. So yeah, we're actually looking pretty good going into fall right now, or into winter. As we kind of finish up, I think a little more rain maybe wouldn't hurt later on, but we're doing pretty good right now for moisture.
Yeah, and because of some of the crops you're growing, you've got to kind of do some of the fall work while you're still harvesting. How do you kind of manage that workload?
That would be, we call them the old guys on the farm. They get to sit in the comfy tractor and they can just work whenever they want. We tell them we need these fields disc this week or harrowed, and whatever. And they kind of just work at their own pace and they get it all done. And every now and then they call us, hey, I need to reset the GPS. And that's a minor detail in the grand scheme of things. It all works out. Maybe that sounds like that sounds like a pretty good gig. It is a good gig. And you know what? They want to do it. Like every year we talk, we say, should we hire someone full time just to, take care of all the fall work, the tillage work, whatever needs to be done. And they love it. They enjoy it. So then we're not going to say no.
Yeah, well, hey, it's nice to have the help indeed, no matter what the generation is, and it's kind of what makes agriculture really, really special, for sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
Hey, wanted to ask you one last question, asking all the farmers this week about land values, and we saw the Farm Credit Canada land value survey a week ago. Said that the national average was 7.7%. For the back half of 23, are you taking the over, the same as, or the under? Okay, so 7.7 was the number for the first half of the year. What will it be in the second half? Over, under, or same?
I'm going to say I would lean to under or the same. So I'm just going to say under.
Okay. Why do you think that? What? Because you hesitated. So what are you thinking?
I think realistically, I would probably say it's going to stay the same. That's just my hunch. Yeah. I have a feeling that it's kind of reached that point. I mean, I like to believe that it will go down, but I kind of think it's plateaued a little bit. I hope.
Yeah. But we earlier, one of the farmers from Ontario, Mark Brock, said that what he's been noticing is more land going actually to the market. Like, where it's, so maybe that's a bit of a sign that things are slowing down here, when we actually had to put up a real estate sign instead of it like, oh yeah, that land traded, no one knew about it, and it just sort of happened.
Yeah. For sure.
Something to watch.
Yeah, no, and there's definitely, there's always land trading hands around our area too. The price, because there are a lot of animal units in Southeast Manitoba, the value of the land is pretty high. So
yeah. I'm hoping that Manitoba, lots of hog farmers. I'm hoping that the hog business can have a good end of 2023 and good 24. That they deserve it. They need it.
Me too. I agree. We have some hogs, and so we're the long game is. It looks like maybe in spring. That's the rumors we're hearing. It should start to turn up, so we're really counting on that.
Well, I had pork chops for lunch. I did my part.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Now I got to go make some tonight or something after work. Yeah.
Well, hey, Korey, thanks a lot for joining us here. All the best to you to wrap up harvest before Halloween, okay?
You got it. Thanks a lot for having me.
When we come back on RealAg Radio, we're going to continue the Farmer Rapid Fire. This time we're stopping in Saskatchewan. You're listening to RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Dedication. Watching the sunset over your crop is one of life's simple pleasures. The anticipation of it all. We know that feeling. Introducing our new Airflex NXT, our best honeybee header yet with the closest cut ever. Light, fast reacting, and infinitely adjustable. More yield, less time and work. Airflex NXT focuses on the future. What drives your next? Visit honeybee.ca or contact your nearest honeybee dealer.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Lashburn, Saskatchewan, and we're talking to Devon Walker. Hey, Devon, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Shaun. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. How are you feeling about the 2023 growing season?
Well, I'm happy it's over. It was a nervous year for us. I'm feeling positive about it in the sense that we did have a little bit more crop out there than what mid-July would have had us expecting, and what I guess mid-August would have had us expecting, which is fortunate. But we don't have to drive very far away, and it's maybe not the case. So this year's crop has me feeling lucky and thankful.
Is it kind of a situation where when you look at your yields and potentially what some of your marketings could be on this, in this kind of shaky market, it's kind of try to put it behind us, live to fight another day, let's start to get to work on doing what we can to make 2024 better, assuming that Mother Nature will finally start to cooperate a little bit more?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely looking towards next year. This year's kind of a closed book almost as far as marketing and stress. Don't want to add more worry to this year than we have to. And look to marketing stuff into 24 and what we're going to do about inputs and stuff moving forward. So
Have you sold most of your 23 crop?
No, I haven't. That drought year from a couple of years ago has myself and others, I feel, a bit nervous on pre-selling too much or too much forward pricing. So we'll just sell the bird that we have in the hand kind of thing.
Okay. What do you think about inputs on 24? Everybody, it seems to be a wide swath of strategies. Some people I've talked to have, bought everything. I bought all the fertilizer. And some people are like, I'm going to be patient because I think we're going to see a slide downwards because commodity prices are going down. What's your thoughts?
Well, we're about halfway through that plan, so we're I guess bought half and kind of waiting on the other half, so to speak. I think that I don't know. There's all that. It seems you pick up a newspaper and there's 14 reasons why the price of everything should keep going up, but our commodities go down and it seems that fertilizers and stuff have bounced back to creeping up. So I don't know what the future holds, but our plan is half bought so far, and I guess so we're being cautiously optimistic in the middle.
Are some of those acres going to get some crop insurance on them from this past year?
No, we're lucky enough on my acres that we're not. I don't know why, just timing and a couple other things, because quite literally a few miles away from us, there's crop insurance claims and so forth. So I'm not in that position this year, luckily.
Yeah, that's good. We've been hearing from numerous people in different parts of the West that although yield's not great, better than I maybe thought was going to happen. Is that what you've been seeing and what you've been hearing as you've been talking to people?
Yeah, I think so. For the, I wouldn't say for the most part. I can't speak for everybody, but in my little pocket here, nobody wanted to get their hopes up too high because we're just coming off of a couple dry years kind of thing. So, and we didn't have a lot of snow melt. There wasn't a lot of groundwater moisture. So the crop that came off this year kind of skated by basically on the dew is how I phrase it. So definitely lucky and a little bit better than what we expected because we did set our expectations.
Yeah. You got a bunch of fall work to do?
Oh yeah, lots. We just finished harvest on Sunday evening. We had 250 acres of canola left out for a week of rain and wind. And so we twiddled our thumbs for what seemed like a whole week and couldn't do a whole lot of much. And so we just finished on Sunday. So we have lots of harrowing to do. Harrows just left the yard here today, and so they won't be back till it's done, and some sloughs to some wet spots and ruts to fix and some kochia patches to deal with. So there's enough fall work to do.
Yeah. Do you have any harvest completion traditions on the farm? Like some people have a harvest party. Some people just sort of like, thank goodness it's over. Like, what do you do?
Traditionally, you just deal with like tractor cab syndrome, which I think is just like the overwhelming sense of 9,000 jobs coming at you as soon as the combine shuts off. So that's a tradition, and just how to juggle that. We have all these societal demands and community demands and family demands that all of a sudden show up as soon as you're done harvest. So traditionally, we've started having a bit of a barbecue after harvest is over. We do a bit of custom work for some neighbors and stuff, so we invite folks over, and that's really only been the last few years for us here. So that's what we're hoping to plan to do here again this year. So for the folks who've worked for us for the fall and through the year and customers, that's what we like to do. Nice. If the weather holds, that's what we'll do again this year.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of celebrate the hard work, even though it wasn't the greatest and the best year ever. It's still okay to say, hey, we did everything we could, and thanks everybody for the hard work, right?
Yeah, I agree. And last year I would say that 2022 is probably a personal best for me on our farm. So it was kind of yay, let's hoop it up. But we definitely know that's not a normal situation. No year is normal, I guess. Yeah. But this year was definitely not an average year either. So I think we want to just be thankful. Like we're in the Thanksgiving season, and although I was combining during Thanksgiving supper, it's just nice to have a relaxing time and socialize after we've been at it for what seemed like a really long drawn out fall, but it did go smooth in the end. So it's tough to put your feet up, but it needs to happen.
Yeah, well put. Land prices. Now, Saskatchewan was strong. I think it was like 11% in the first half of the year, according to Farm Credit Canada. Nationally, the average is 7.7. What do you think is going to happen in the back half of 23 nationally? Do you think we're going to be higher than 7.7, about the same, or are you taking the under?
I don't know. You said under 7.3?
7.
On the back half?
There's 7.7, yeah. So is it
7.7.
Over, same, or under?
I'm going to just assume it's going to go over. I guess what I think should happen with economics and what does happen in economics rarely line up, Shaun. So it'll probably continue to steamroll forward and continue to push beyond productive capability of the land, and it'll probably just keep going up and up and up and up, up and away.
I took the over last Friday too. I was betting the same, and we were split. If I remember, in the panel, we were 2 thought under, 2 thought over. I'm kind of with you, although I can obviously argue the under. It's just been a place that has attracted a lot of capital, whether that's from the farming community or it's just it's outside investors, and I think the theme of all of this, or the continued discussion around land values, is how potentially the value is detached from the productivity capabilities. Now, but at the same time, that's the argument has been one of the reasons we've seen such a strong increase in Saskatchewan, is that it's kind of undervalued from a productivity standpoint in comparison to some of the other provinces. So I guess it depends on what kind of calculator and what kind of pencil you're using, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that there obviously is a happy medium out there somewhere, and I think most operators can find that. I still think that there's folks that are really good operators, and they can purchase land with cash or with some confidence. I think that there's speculators out there that when you look at the trend, that 10%, 11%, 7% going up on a steady rate, it looks like, hey, that's a good investment. But things are only a good investment if you can sell them later on. And I think most farmers, I don't know, usually stuff gets sold after we pass away. So we don't really, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't worry about when I go to sell land one day. That's not on my radar. It's just trying to acquire and get it and make sure I can make the payments on that and stuff. As far as new land and stuff goes on our farm, expansions and things, I'm in a position where we're still buying an estate and I've kind of placed my cards to purchase into that. So I'm not yet looking over the fence, so to speak, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to just keep my blinders on and not let the extra outside land value chatter bother me too much.
Well, Devon, really appreciate your thoughts and insights, and all the best to you getting all this fall work done before the snow starts to fly. And let's hope that there is some moisture that comes our way indeed. Devon, thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shaun. I appreciate it. And you have a good day.
When we come back on RealAg Radio, we're going to go back to Manitoba. We're going to talk to Mike Weir, Pioneer Agronomist. You're listening to RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
At Brett Young, we focus on what's real. It's how we became Canada's largest independent seed company. That's why we're asking a real farmer, what do you think of BY6217TF, Brett Young's TrueFlex Canola Hybrid?
What's that?
BY6217TF, Brett Young's TrueFlex Canola Hybrid with Pod Defender shatter reduction technology and Defender-rated club root and blackleg resistance.
Good yield, yeah. Probably choose it again.
Thanks, Chris. Talk to your Brett Young retailer today to see for yourself. Brett Young, distinct by design.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
And we wrap up this week's Farmer Rapid Fire with Mike Weir, who is a pioneer agronomist in southern Manitoba around the Carman area. Hey, Mike, welcome back to the Farmer Rapid Fire.
Hey, good to be on.
Okay, lots happening. We actually earlier we did hear from Korey Peters from Randolph, Manitoba, and he was talking about some of the things that have been happening in the area. Harvest is still underway in Manitoba. There's still some crop to take off.
Yeah, no, it's been it's been variable weather throughout the summer, and in a lot of cases, it's been somewhat dry. And as we get into September, we had some rain events, and that's put harvest all over the map. Anywhere from guys washing equipment because they're done, or some guys still trying to get off a little bit of canola and a good chunk of soybeans. And then a high percentage that are right into corn. So it's all over the map.
Yeah, and I like everywhere is kind of different, but yields. Seemingly the trend has been to be a little bit higher than expectations for the most part, but some areas still not ideal. But that seems to be kind of the feedback I've been getting. What are customers telling you?
No, I would echo that. Like, it's with the challenges we had for the variability in the conditions we had, either a lot of cases that were really dry and then the odd spot that had excessive moisture in some poor times, and a lot of people going into harvest with some doubts and wondering how far into crop insurance they're going to be. And once they got in, right from cereal harvest right into guys into corn now are very happy with what they're getting, considering the summer we had, and overall too, even where the yields are a little bit lower, quality on everything seems to be really good. So there's a lot of positives to pull from a year that we had some doubts on. So overall, very positive comments. I would agree. Yeah,
because I'm thinking back to about June, and I remember listeners telling me, like in the Carman area, we are dry relative to what our expectations typically are. So, this is kind of, I guess, in some ways, a bit of a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, like the cereal harvest, there was some lower yields and some, in the very, very extreme dry areas, that Carmen area, and as you go east and into some heavier clay soils closer to Highway 75, and but all in all, we did get some rain events later on, where some later season crops did, I think, take advantage of it. Some later maturing soybeans and some corn crops that still utilize some of that late season moisture, where yields are, I would say, above average in some cases. And, and as I mentioned, there's some yields on the other end of the spectrum too that didn't take advantage of that moisture. They'd either, they had reached the end of the line and they're ready to be taken off before they could take advantage of some of that moisture. And there's some lower yields there. So, in a nutshell, just really a lot of yields all over the map, but I would say more that skew more to the right side of the spectrum where guys were pretty positive about how things went.
And have you been getting some moisture as of late?
We have, I would say right in kind of halfway through September, we started to get your typical fall weather where some really nice rain showers that came through and some nice rain systems that replenished a lot of the ground where we really needed some moisture to even start thinking about putting fertilizer down in the fall. So, as in some case or a lot of cases where that precipitation creates some challenges as far as getting the rest of the crop off, I think there was a lot of people happy to receive it just to start putting some fertilizer down and start thinking about next year and prepping some ground. It's made it a lot nicer job to be working on those kinds of things with some moisture.
Yeah, you think about all the work that happens in the growing season and before the snow starts to fly and we get some really, really cold weather. Probably the time of the year that gets the least amount of sort of attention and discussion is the fall work. But it really is setting that stage for next year's crop, in this case 2024. It's important work.
Oh, absolutely. And I would say even when those rains started coming, all of a sudden there was a lot of interest, or a little bit more interest, even some crops like fall rye. And now that some growers had some moisture to work with, and that spilled right off into, even just getting fall work done after getting the crop off. And it's really important to have that moisture to get that fertilizer down and get things into, prepped in conditions. So it's, we start thinking about next year again into the spring. It makes things that much less stressful when we do it all over again next spring.
Well, and next year comes faster than maybe some of us want it to. And some of this crop, because we did have some pretty nice weather here late in the season, some of this crop went in pretty high temperature. And also maybe in some parts, depending on where you are, there could have been some, green in that canola, for example, too. Check in those bins and that storage, really, really a key thing to be keeping on our minds.
No, absolutely. I feel like we remind folks every year about this. Storage bins are getting bigger, and with that, there's more product in them that's at risk of heating up on you and causing some issues. And just with some of those conditions that we talked about with the moisture, there's been hearing a lot of comments from growers on some crop that's taken a while to dry down, particular canola, as you mentioned, where some of the desiccants didn't work quite as well, and a lot of green stems and green material left out there when they're going out to harvest. And, harvest moistures are generally okay, but when you start throwing a bunch of green material in there, it's to your point, just keep an eye on those bins and turn them or do whatever you have to do just to make sure you manage your risk there for sure.
Well, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, and big shout out and thanks to Pioneer Seeds Can for being the show sponsor.
Yeah, always good to talk to you.
Great stuff. Hey, if you have any feedback, you heard our farmers talk about, they gave their prediction on what happens with land values in the back half of 23, the over, the under, or the same as when it comes to 7.7%. So you can provide your feedback on that. I'm sure you got an opinion on it. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Hey, thanks everybody for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. Big shout out to Pioneer Seeds Canada. Go to pioneer.com/Canada to find out more. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the RealAg Radio podcast, brought to you by Economics. With one-of-a-kind tools, research, and content, Economics is farming's go-to information resource. Find it all on nutrient-economics.com or download the app.